So, welcome to AFU United WFC.
Good afternoon. It's Anthony's Odds On Show for AFU United. Today we will be discussing the Super League odds, as well as going into predictions for the weekend's results and a bit more on pre-season and how we think each team is going to do for the up-and-coming season ahead. I am joined by John Foster. How are you, John, today?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Anthony. Really looking forward to this one. It's something that we've been looking at doing for a couple of months. Hopefully we can get all the information in time ready for the weekend. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to it. But Anthony, do you want to just talk a little bit about what to expect on this show going forward?
Basically, we're hoping to have odds from the experts explaining who's most likely to win, draw or lose. This is an ongoing matter, and hoping that the experts load this sooner rather than later. So at the moment, it's currently a work in progress, but as we continue to record these, hopefully we'll get the information we need to go forward.
Yeah, really looking forward to it, Anthony. And I know that you're like a massive fan of these odds, and you always talk about them as well. So, can't wait to see how this show goes. So, all yours, Anthony.
Thank you very much. So, firstly, we're going to discuss this Women's Super League odds, who the favourites are, and I will give the odds that the experts have came out with, and then we'll have a little discussion on the teams, and do you agree with what they're saying, and we'll go from there. So I'll put all the odds out first. They've gone for Chelsea are 5 to 6 favourites. Then you have City at 7 to 4, Arsenal at 7 to 2. We have us, Man United, at 50 to 1. Everton at 100 to 1. And you've got Reading, Spurs, West Ham and Brighton all at 2,500 to 1. And then Villa, Birmingham and Leicester City 5,000 to 1. Now, we all know with the Leicester what happened when they were 5,000 to 1 before. So might be worth £1. But we'll start with Chelsea. Title favourites. Would you agree with the experts? How can you see that?
Yeah, I do agree with that, absolutely. I think the odds are actually quite short, aren't they? If you think about it, it's not like 3 to 1, 4 to 1. It is actually odds on, isn't it? So the experts are really thinking to themselves here, Chelsea are firm favourites to go for that. I agree with that. I think City will push them close this season. I think potentially push them even closer. I think City will get off to a better start this season as opposed to last season. So I think they will push them for a longer way this time, as opposed to just coming up towards the second half of the season. But yeah, you definitely got to fancy Chelsea. They're very stable. They've got a fantastic manager, a fantastic squad. They deserve to be favourites. But of course, will their mind now be distracted on other cups? Will they be distracted on Champions League? So it's going to be interesting to see, because you will have teams like City who's going to be pushing them. And then if us and Arsenal get off to a good start, then who knows? But yeah, I do fancy Chelsea, yeah.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you, John. The squad depth is so much bigger. They've got so many options. If they have two of their players up front, like Kerr and Kirby, then they've got Beth England and Pernilla Harder. So normally you get encouraged when you think, they're not playing But with Chelsea, you're like, oh, they're not playing, but they're playing. So, no, I agree with you, John. With Arsenal, Man United, and some of the others, who can you see being the surprise team? Can you, out of any of them, can you see there being any surprises where you could think, oh,
okay. I think, look, there's rumours going around about Tobin Heath potentially going to Arsenal. Now, if that does happen, all of a sudden Arsenal are contenders. They have to be. So that could be something where, you know, I'm not expecting Arsenal to be in the title running this season, if I'm honest. Maybe some Arsenal fans would disagree, but as things stand, I still think it'll be Chelsea and Arsenal. So Chelsea and City. So if Arsenal make that one more signing, then yeah, that they will. You know, you expect them to be pushing. As for teams lower down, I think it's interesting that Everton are 100 to 1 away, 50 to 1. So a lot's been made about Everton's very good transfer window. However, they're still fifth favourites and not fourth, and they're not even close. So I think that's interesting that Everton are only 100 to 1 and not anything shorter than that. Outside of the top, I'm possibly thinking maybe I'd probably say someone like an Aston Villa, because I think not to actually push for top four, but I think they'll probably do better than what what fans are probably expecting. So you look at Villa last season, not great, but I think that they made some good signings, and I think hopefully, you know, they should be safe. I'm predicting there that they'll be safe, you know, just after Christmas time. So I'd like to see those, especially being a local team to myself, I'd like to see those kind of being a mid-table team this season, as opposed to looking over the shoulder and battling against relegation. So for me, I think if Arsenal sign Tobin Heath, then yeah, they'll be championship contenders, title contenders. And I think maybe a lower league team, probably Aston Villa, a mid-table kind of club, as opposed to relegation battle.
Yeah, you make some good points there, John. And I'm going to go back to squad depth again. Man United at 50 to 1. Now, a lot's been made that we've got rid of 3 strikers and we've only replaced them with 1. Could you see a genuine title push or Champions League, or do you think we've slightly gone back a bit this season with the losses we've had in Tobin Heath, who I would be pretty distraught if he went to Arsenal. I don't think my United top with Heath on the back could come out anymore. How do you see that playing out?
It's interesting because we all love Casey Stoney, and we all thought, okay, no matter who comes in, they won't be as good as Casey. I think what Casey had going for her is she knew the squad, she knew the club. Mark Skinner's come straight in now, and he's got to get used to everything. So will he hit the ground running? I really hope so. I really do. And it looks like he has so far on pre-season, and we can discuss that shortly. So I think manager-wise, I'm happy. I've been very vocal on Twitter and on YouTube that I think our goalkeepers, defence and midfield has actually got stronger over summer. You know, we've got a fantastic 2 goalkeepers now as opposed to just 1. Because let's be honest, Rambo and Bentley never got a look in over the first 3 seasons. So, you know, I think our goalkeeper situation has got stronger. Our defence, even though losing Amy Turner, we've gained Blundell and Mannion, who are so far looking good. So I think our defence has got stronger. Midfield, we've gained Bovisa, but we haven't lost anyone. So our midfield's got stronger, in my opinion. So now it's just a strike force. If we can keep Russo, Hansen, Galton fit, with potentially Tooney going out wide, with Martha going up top as well, we still haven't seen what Fuso can do. I think if we can keep the front 3 fit as often as possible, then yeah, you know what, why not? But I think we all know that injuries do happen, don't they? And that's what's scaring me. So you started off the conversation by squad depth. I do think we've got squad depth. It's just the strike force that we're missing, and unfortunately, that's what we was lacking last season. Even with the squad that we had last season, we were still lacking goals, weren't we? So we really relied heavily on Russo to score. We relied heavily on Martha Thomas to score. We relied heavily on Galton and Hansen to create, Tooney to create, Stanforth to create. So we've got the players there, but they actually need to deliver. So squad depth's going to be tough. 50-1. I think that's really interesting. I really do, because basically the experts are giving us no chance at all when it comes to 50-1. If we can keep our starting 11 fit, let's see what we can do. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, is 50-1 for yourself? Is that quite? Because that to me looks like we've got no chance. What are your thoughts on that one?
No, I would agree with the majority of what you said. With squad depth and that, the keeping department. Now, I think it was vital to get in someone that can push Mary. We've discussed before under Casey Stoney, it must have got to a point where, and it did with us fans, I'm sure you agree, where you knew that Mary could have a couple of bad games, but she wouldn't get dropped. And you only have to look at the FA Cup game against Burnley last season, where you'd think national north side, I can afford to give Mary a rest, give Emily a game or Fran a game. And when you saw that lineup and it had Mary Earps in, you just thought, what's she got to do to have a rest or something? So, and it must have played in the keeper's mind, Emily and Fran. They must have thought, because I would be like, what do I have to do to play a game? We're not even playing a WSL or a championship side. And so it must have been like, you can understand why they've gone out. But I think with Sophie Bagley, she's a brilliant shot stopper. I hope she's not as busy as she was against Reading last season, because I went to see her at Reading last season and she saved Bristol City from getting tonked. With the defence in that, Ethan Mannion and Bundle brought in is brilliant. It gives us that depth. So maybe if one of them does get injured, you've still got Una and even the likes of Kirsty Smith and Martha Harris, which hopefully, with all these players, it will push people like Martha and Kirsty to up the game even more. So if we can keep everyone fit, it will be interesting. Like you said with the midfield, it's about creating the chances for the attackers. I feel like have the squad depth up front is not good enough, but I feel like if we're creating loads of chances and the attackers are getting in the right places, then we could potentially score more. A lot of our build-up play is good, but then we don't really get into positions where, like, if the keeper saves it and there's someone there to tap it in. So I agree with you, John, on this stuff. 50-1 for me. Yeah, I think if you look at last year, it would have been interesting to see what the experts say. I reckon it would have been slightly lower due to the calibre of the players we did buy, loan, like Tobin Heath and Kristen Press, and we still had LJ and that, and obviously a bit more depth up front. So, 50-1. I've always looked at the odds, and I've always thought, if you put £1 on every team other than Chelsea, City and Arsenal, there's a good chance if you were an expert, that you could win something out of there. But I fully expect, like you, Chelsea, City, if Arsenal get Tobin, then they'll push it on. I'm going to move on to Leicester City quickly, because obviously the FA Cup game against us, it didn't end well for us. The bookies have got them down as 5,000-1, which It's quite a famous odd. We all know what happened last time they were 5,000 to 1 in a football tournament.
Yeah.
How do you rate? How do you think their season's going to go?
I mean, 5,000 to 1. It's a long shot, isn't it? I think they'll be very happy. Some might say they'll be happy just to stay in the league this first season. I think they're a lot more ambitious than that. Speaking to fans and friends who actually go and watch them play and who know a bit of inside information, the structure is really good there, and they are ambitious. You can see the men's side are ambitious. They've done fantastically well in the last few seasons on the men's side, and now the women's side's growing as well. They've invested well. I was speaking earlier on the Tuesday night show a couple of nights ago on the Matt Crane show, and he was saying how well they've bought, and Gareth was saying the same. Discussing the likes of Jess Sigsworth. She's not a cast off. It's not a negative to sign Jess Sigsworth whatsoever. It's a massive bonus for someone like Leicester City who's just been promoted and wanted to push further. So I can see why Leicester's got a lot of fans out there and a lot of believers, but will they get into that top 4? I can't see it at all. I can't even see them probably getting into the top 5, or some people might say top 6 maybe. That would be an amazing achievement. But me personally, Leicester, I can't remember what I predicted a few weeks ago. I don't think that they'll do as well as maybe some fans are expecting, but I do think that they'll be up there above the likes of Tottenham and West Ham. So again, could be wrong, but I'd say a mid table, which isn't a bad thing in your first season in the WSL.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, John. I think I said a couple of weeks ago, sixth or seventh. Like you've come put your points across. They're very well run. They've got great owners. They're going to be playing at the King Power. Their manager, Jonathan Morgan, he's been there for a fair few seasons now, and I definitely feel in the future that they will. I think generally in the future they will push the likes of Man United and that for top 4. Even you only have to look at Leicester men's side when we're talking about relegation. Now to put Leicester in that category and would be unheard of. You're talking about Europe and that. So I think that's a work in progress, and the way they're carrying on, I definitely think their fans can be excited for the future of the club. So, but moving on, I want to discuss Manchester United's pre-season games. 2 of them were on MUTV, luckily. The other 2 we had to hear from word of mouth from various people on Twitter. How do you make how our pre-season's gone, and what do you think about Mark Skinner giving players like Carrie Jones a chance?
What I love about pre-season is, for myself personally, it's not about the results. It's easy to say that if you win 9-0, 10-0, then everyone's raving, brilliant. I think at this stage, when you've got a new manager, 7 new players, promoting the devs, it's all about working on things that you've been working on in the training grounds. So during these games, Mark Skinner or Martin Howe or the coaches could have potentially said to these players, right, in this game, I want you to practice your 1 and 2 touch passing. I want you to practice your transition from defence into attack. I want you to practice the counter-attack. We don't know what they've actually got out and says for them to do, but it's pre-season and it's a friendly game for a reason. So for me, because of the morale at the club at the moment, which is high, the players are very happy. Mark Skinner's happy. Everything coming out of the club is happy again. I'm not seeing one negative article since Mark Skinner's been at the club. I think all this is going very positive. We had that week away in Scotland that we was very fortunate. Well, I was very fortunate to.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, sorry, Anthony. Yeah, but I was very fortunate to go to, and I saw the vibe at the club, and it was really good. So pre-season as a whole, I think, has been very good for our club. it's just what we needed after such a sore end to last year's campaign. Results wise, if you want to discuss results, yeah, look, we got we got a good win against Rangers, got a couple of draws and a win, I think, off the top of my head. Yeah, it was a draw against Liverpool, wasn't it? A win against Villa, draw against Brighton. I think that's correct,
yeah,
off the top of my head. But yeah, the results don't bother me. It's all about all the preparation is for Reading. So if we end up losing to Reading, then yeah, our pre-season probably isn't as good because we should be winning Reading. And then, we can be open and honest about that. But to me, it's all about practicing different things in different games and then putting it all together. You mentioned Carrie. Yeah, brilliant. Great to see her getting some game time. We've seen her up front. We haven't seen too much of her just yet. I'd like to see more of her in that role. So I'm hoping the Conti Cup games is somewhere where we can see more of her. I wouldn't want to see her in the WSL just yet. The amount of pressure that she would be under from the fan base as well. The fan base would be. We would be okay, Anthony. But you know what Twitter's like. If she didn't score in her first game, everyone will be up in arms saying, why are you playing a youngster instead of signing Bunny Shaw that we should have signed, or whoever else, other names that was going around. So let's take our time with Carrie. Let's see how she does in the cup games. Let's bring her on with 15, 20 minutes to go. But it's great to see that she's at least getting her name out there, and rightly so.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, John. For me, it's about practicing new styles and different game scenarios, as well as building match fitness. You can look. I would say it was a successful pre-season. We haven't lost. We've shown some good play. He's given, obviously, Carrie a chance and that. And so I think we can be happy. But like you said, with Reading coming up, this is where it starts. LSV, back with fans after so long, 18 months. They're going to want to put a performance on for us. And I'm excited for the new players, the people like Russo that we got last year in that. I'm excited for them to hear us screaming from. It's just that stuff, like, it must have been so, like, obviously it's quiet. You could hear it on the TV, like, and they always talk about us fans, and it's brilliant that they acknowledge us. So I can't wait until we're back there Friday, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it will be 3 points. Regarding Skinner, do you think he will give more youth a chance? Do you think with the squad depth, if we do pick up a few knocks, could you see any of the other academy players possibly in the matchday squad? I know Casey brought in the likes of Rebecca May and Chloe Williams before. So what do you reckon?
When I look at devs or academy players from the men's or women's team who are possibly going to come through, I always have a look at what spaces are actually available in the senior team. So it doesn't matter how good you are really as a dev or as an academy player. If you've got 4 or 5 senior players ahead of you, then you haven't really got much chance. So if you could be a fantastic midfielder in the devs, but you've currently got 6 fantastic midfielders in the senior team. So this is where I need to be looking at maybe sending one of those players out on loan and trying to get game time there. Now, if you have a look at our weakness so far in the senior team, you're looking at the front 3. And this is where Carrie or Maria Edwards could potentially start coming through now. Now, we've seen Maria Edwards since our second season, even in Norway pre-season, the link between the first and second season. We saw Maria Edwards there, done very well. Come on as a sub, almost scored. She done very well at Blackburn last season. This could be Maria's chance now, at least up until January, until the next transfer window comes, where she could potentially get some game time in the WSL. Now, I'm not saying that should definitely happen. Maybe she needs another loan spell. Maybe it's a WSL club. But as things stand, she's with us, and I would love to see her get some game time. Now, we talk about Kirsty Hanson being on the right, Galton on the left, Russo up front. Why not in cup matches start thinking about playing Maria Edwards now? This is a perfect scenario. She hasn't got Tess ahead of her. She hasn't got Heath ahead of her. She hasn't got LJ ahead of her. She hasn't got Jess Sigsworth ahead of her. She hasn't got Jane Moss ahead of her, who all play on the wings, who all did play on the wings for us last season. She's got none of that anymore. She's got Hanson ahead of her on that right-hand side, Galton ahead of her on that left-hand side. Let's give one of them a break and let's see Maria Edwards come in. So that's what I would like to see this season. I don't want to throw her in there. There's no reason to throw her in there at all. But for me, this is the one player now who realistically should be getting some game time, whether it be in the cup matches or in the WSL matches.
Yeah, no, I agree. It would be great to see, especially the Conti Cup games. I just think sometimes are we wanting to win something like the Conti Cup this season? With our strike force, you mentioned Hanson, Galton, Russo. They've all had long-term injuries, so it's going to be vital that they stay fit. But if one or two of them don't stay fit, then the likes of Maria Edwards getting their opportunity, and I'm sure they would take their opportunity if they got it. That is my only worry with, like we mentioned, squad depth before with injuries, especially with the records that Hanson and Galton, they normally pick up an injury, which hopefully won't come back to bite us, and hopefully things behind the scenes have changed. Maybe they're doing things differently to how Casey did it, or they've improved stuff that was making us have injuries. So I'm going to move on though, because time's getting on. In the up and coming weeks, I want to do a discussion on Game of the Week, and I'm going to keep it short. But Game of the Week this week is going to be Chelsea v Arsenal. It's live on Sky on the Sunday. Changes for Arsenal. They've got a new manager, and they've brought in Nikita Paris and that. Chelsea, they've not done too much signing. Obviously, they've signed LJ and that defender from Holland. I can't pronounce her name. Mm-hmm. So they obviously, Chelsea are quite happy with the squad. But I want to ask you, LJ's role. How do you think her season's going to go? What's her role going to be? Can you see her making an impact?
I think Chelsea have bought her for the future. I think they know how good she is, how fondly thought of at Manchester United she was, and they've got a fantastic signing there. The thing is, they don't need to rush her in. Last 2 seasons ago, when we had LJ, she played a lot of minutes and she was rushed in. We had to rush her in because we had kind of nobody else. She was our main player. I think what Chelsea can do is they can afford to break her in the way that they should. So I'm not expected to start too many games. There's rumours that Chelsea's squad might change slightly again before the end of the transfer window, which may lead to LJ having more game time. But to me, they can do things in the correct way with LJ. That LJ can go there and enjoy herself, knowing that the pressure isn't on her in the first season, maybe not even in the first 2 seasons. But what I wouldn't like to see as an LJ fan is for her just to be sitting on the bench all the time. So give her a certain cup, even if it's just a Conti Cup, the worst cup out of all 4. Let her play no matter what. It doesn't matter who you're against, because she's a quality player. She's played against City, Arsenal, and Chelsea, and she'll probably play against United at some point as well. So she's a fantastic player. So she should be trusted in that Conti Cup at least, bare minimum. And maybe I'm not doing her the justice there. Maybe she can be trusted in other cups as well, and she can be. It's just whether or not Emma Hayes will choose to play her when she's got so many other top quality strikers. But it's a first season. There's no need to rush. I would like to say, if I was Emma Hayes, look, the Conti Cup's all yours. Let's break you in gently. Have a fantastic first year. build up that confidence, get to know the club, get to know your players around you, and then maybe the second season we can start seeing more of you in the WSL. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you can't come on as a sub. It doesn't mean that, at some points players can't get rotated. Players in that WSL, instead of playing in the WSL, they might be playing in the Champions League. So LJ may come back and play in the WSL after Chelsea played in the Champions League. So there will be opportunities for LJ. But again, from Emma Hayes' point of view, she doesn't need to rush LJ at all.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've said there, John. I think give her the Conti Cup. We know she's a quality young player. And I think if she is on, this is how big their squad is, even if she's not in the match day squad, because you've only got a certain amount of subs to pick. But if she is, I think at times LJ's been a better impact player for us. Obviously, she came on against Chelsea last year and scored that cracking goal. We know she has flashes of brilliance, but like you said, with all their games with Champions League and that, give her a chance after a game. Other people have travelled. So I agree with what you've been saying there. I do think she's one for the future, and Emma Hayes will do the right thing, and when she's ready, she'll make that decision. But I definitely think 2-3 years, and I think she'll come even better. I'm going to move on to first week predictions now, and seeing as we've been talking about Chelsea, I'm going to ask you, what Chelsea Arsenal? How can you see that going? If we try and keep it a little bit brief, because time is running on, but just give a little thought.
Yeah, for myself, I'm going to go for a score draw. I'm going to go for a 2-2 on this one. Look, we know Chelsea are favourites. They're favourites for the reason, on paper they should win every WSL game going because they are going to be the favourites. But it's the opening game of the season. It's a derby. Squad depth doesn't mean anything on the first game of the season. Potentially, you could argue that it's more about how well pre-season's gone. So, yeah, I'm going to go for a score draw on this one. Let's go for 2-2.
Yeah, very interesting. I've gone for a score draw as well, but I've gone for 1-1. Yes, they did play in pre-season, which I believe Chelsea won, but you can't take the results from pre-season. You just look at, there's been seasons where the men's side of United have won all their games. And I think there was one, particularly when Van Gaal was in charge. I think we beat the likes of Real Madrid and that. We played Swansea first game of the season and then got beaten. Yeah. So, like you said, pre-season is good for fitness and that, but you can't take results that way. So I reckon 1-1 opening game of the season for both teams. So not everyone's up to full steam still. But no, I agree with you on the score draw, but I've gone for 1-1. So we'll move on to Villa Leicester now. It's obviously at Villa, and I believe you're going to go and watch it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I will be. So I'm staying up in Manchester for Friday night into Saturday. And then as I drive back down to Birmingham, I will basically be passing through that actual area. So Aston Villa, they're playing Walsall, which is the junction that I get off at. So I might as well just pop in there and see how they get on. I'm really looking forward to this game. I really am. Two clubs who are showing ambition. We know Leicester's got ambition. Aston Villa, the transfer window this year, has shown ambition. And so I'm going to go for maybe a slight surprise because we know Aston Villa struggled last season. I think they might start off the season here quite strongly. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Aston Villa here, which is going to surprise a lot of people. It's only a prediction, and I just got a bit of a hunch that it doesn't matter what team who is the favourites on the opening game of the season, anything can happen. And we saw it in the Championship with the week just gone, the favourites don't always win. So if anyone's got Leicester as the favourites, let's not be blinded the fact that you never know. Aston Villa could actually turn up here at home with the new players, new manager. Leicester aren't a great team. That they're not a top 4 team. Let's. I think this one might be the 2-1 here.
Okay, it's very interesting because my prediction is very much different to that.
Yeah.
And like you said, football's a funny old game, but I just think you mentioned about rejects and casts off. They're not, are they? Some Jess Sigsworth, she still could play for Man United,
definitely,
especially with the depth we've discussed. But I think Leicester City I think, like we've discussed, 6th or 7th this season. But it might surprise people, but I'm going to go for a Leicester City to win 3-1 here. I just think they've got a point to prove, especially after beating United. And I feel, but obviously both teams are going to be up for it. But I feel Leicester City have this summer brought in some real quality players that have played in the WSL for a number of years, and even people dropped down to the Championship that Craney had mentioned. So they've got plenty of WS experience there. It's not like they're going to be inexperienced as players, just the name Leicester City. So, but we'll move on to Everton Man City now. How would you see that one going? I've got a head-to-head record here, so I don't want to sway your decision, but they've played 8 times, and Everton have lost 8 times. What do you make of that?
This is interesting. So if you go on the odds that you gave at the start of the show, Anthony, Everton 100-1 to win the title. Man City, what was Man City? Was it 9-4? Did you say, Anthony?
It was 1 minute, 7-4.
7-4, yeah. So that's almost evens. There's such a big difference there. I know that's for the whole season, but that is massive. So when you look at that, Man City should be winning this game, shouldn't they? It's as simple as that. If Man City is such strong favourites to be one of the title contenders, and then you got Everton as 100-1, you seriously expect City to be winning this game. And what you just said there, head to head, City have won, or City City won all 8, or is it just Everton haven't?
Yeah. Oh no, City have won all 8.
City have won all 8. So you look at that. You look at the players that City have brought in a transfer window, who are very strong. You have to favour City. Now, I know there's a lot of fans out there who are saying Everton are going to be the surprise package, and yeah, there could be. But for me, I'm just fancying City on this one. And I'd love it if Everton got a sneaky win, because I don't think Everton are going to leapfrog us anyway in the league this season. So, potentially Everton could do us a favour by winning City, and it's always good to see the blue half of Manchester lose. But now I can't. If you want a scoreline, probably something like 2-1 City. I don't think City will roll them over completely, but you've got to think the City are the favourites. So for me, 2-1 City.
Yeah, I agree with you. City are the favourites. I'm going for 3-1. I just think City have got too much quality. So I can't see there being anything other than the form. I will point, this is the last 4 years. Okay. So they might have played previously. But we'll go on to Spurs Birmingham now. How do you expect that to go? 2 sides mid-table-ish, but we all know Birmingham have problems. So
yeah, it's a tough one for these 2 clubs. I think this season. I think look, Birmingham's going to struggle, aren't they? And if they can't win Tottenham, then this is potentially a team that we're going to struggle with. So And Anthony just going to get his charges, so we'll be back in a second. For me, I think Birmingham. I'd love for Birmingham to stay up. I really would. Can I see it happening? Possibly not. These are the games that they need to win. Tottenham, I don't think they're going to struggle in the sense of they're going to be in a relegation battle, but they're going to be in a mid-table to relegation battle with the likes of Villa, Reading, West Ham. So this is the kind of game where one of them needs to win, because they're not going to get much joy elsewhere. So as a score prediction, I do fancy Tottenham, but it's the same for Birmingham, because if I don't give Birmingham a result here, where can they get a result? So I fancy Tottenham. Maybe just kind of like a boring 1-0 maybe on this one. Can I just say at this point, our predictions are going to be crazily wrong, aren't they? You know all these predictions. Well, we'll be lucky if we get one right, won't we? But I'm going to go 1-0 Tottenham.
Yeah, no, you make a good point there. Like I said, they're not going to bark up any trees, Spurs and Birmingham. They're just going to be there, especially Birmingham trying to survive relegation. We all know what happened last season, where Carla Ward did a brilliant job to keep them up.
Yeah.
Spurs, since they've come up from the Championship, they're always floating around the bottom 4 or 5. So I think it will be a close game, but it's another one where I'm going to go for a score draw, which I'm going to go for 1-1 personally. So that's my prediction for that. And I apologise to viewers, my battery was going to die. That wasn't very prepared from me, so I apologise for that. So now we will move on to Brighton West Ham, 2 teams that, like Spurs, are around the 5 or the bottom 4 or 5. But Brighton, personally, I think they've bought well this summer. They've brought in a couple of new additions up front. Danielle Carter being one who was at Reading last season. The Liverpool midfielder / striker, where she can play in both positions. How do you see this one going, John?
I'm going to go for 1-1. I think throughout the whole season, I think Brighton will probably just edge it above West Ham. We've had some West Ham supporters on the channel about a month ago, and they're very passionate and they really believe in their team this year. But you have a look at the teams around them, and I think they're going to struggle to get into the top half of the table. I think they'll probably be closer to the bottom half of the table this year, West Ham. Which is a shame, because I would like to see West Ham obviously not be in any trouble. I would like to see West Ham be a top club. I really would, but I just think that I don't think they'll have enough in them to really compete, in the top half this season. So I think they'll be having a few more downs and ups. But as for this game, I think this could potentially be one of the games where we do get to see them score. And potentially win. I'm not saying that they won't score for the rest of the season. That came across quite bad. I didn't mean it like that. But I think this is one of the games where the fans will be happy. But I also see Brighton as seeing this game as one of their games where they could pick up maximum points. So I'm going to sit on the fence on this one and say 1-1. But it wouldn't surprise me if you do kind of see one team kind of run away with it.
It's interesting that you say 1-1. In the last 4 years, they've played 6 times.
Yeah.
Brighton have won 3 times. West Ham have won 3 times.
Okay.
So there's got to be a draw at some point. So that'll be interesting. But with Brighton, they're a funny side. Consistency is a key thing. They'll go in, smash out a result against Chelsea or us, Manchester United, which they did last season. And then there's other teams they'll go and lose to that you expect them to lose. So they're a funny side, Brighton. They pull out some cracking results, and Hope Pal's doing a great job down there, I feel. But they're so inconsistent. But it's at the Amex, which is going to be brilliant, and hopefully they can get a big crowd. If it wasn't for England Andorra, then I probably would have went to the game myself. Regarding West Ham, they're another team that are floating down mid-table towards the bottom. They're another funny side. They didn't do so well against us last season, but the season before, we all know what happened there. We collapsed a bit, but this is interesting for me, and a lot of people will be surprised maybe, but I'm going to go for a 3-0 win to Brighton. I feel home support at the Amex with the signings they've got. So I feel that's going to be the least closest game. And like you said, we'll probably get about one right. But I'm not doing too bad on Super 6 this season. I've not lost a guess yet. So hopefully that can continue into the WSL. Now, I've left the last prediction for a reason. It's Manchester United, Reading. First game of the new WSL season under the lights at Lee. We're all going to be buzzing to be back there. Yeah. The players will be buzzing, as we've discussed. We've talked about the experience that Reading have lost. Farrah Williams, most notably. Hagrid James has gone to America. Jess Fishlock went to America. And you could say even Danielle Carter, she's gone to Brighton. So how do you feel about this game? Can you see there only being one result, or?
Reading always tough opponents, aren't they? But their squad has changed slightly this season. So has ours. Obviously, I think we're stronger. We'll go in as favourites for a reason. And I do predict that we'll win 2 or 3-1. I'll commit to one of them shortly. I think with us being at home, I think with our quality of our players, with our tactical knowledge of Skinner and Martin Howe and Skinner's assistant, I think that we should be winning this game. I do think we need an early goal to kind of settle the nerves, and it's easy to say that, but I think we really do on this one, because the fans will expect a win here. The players will know that the fans expect to win, and they will be nervous, but I just think it's really important that we just get our quality players on the board as much as we can, dictate the play. I think we will do that. I don't think we'll get caught out like we was last season. I think we'll be switched on. I think the players all know where we got caught out last season. I think in the training ground we'll be looking at those things, and we will have looked at those things. We both mentioned that I think our defence has got stronger now, and our goalkeeping situations got stronger. Even though they can only play one goalkeeper at a time, they both need to be on top of their game 100% no matter what. It's just whether or not we can actually get that ball from midfield to attack and create enough opportunities and enough clear-cut opportunities. This is something that we've lacked in the past, in previous seasons, where we've had shots, but they've not actually been clear-cut. They've not really been fantastic opportunities where you've been one-on-one with a goalkeeper or inside like 12 yards. We've been taking shots at unusual angles or outside the box, or with defenders blocking the route from the ball to the goal. So this will be interesting now to see what Skinner's worked on in the training ground, where we know that we're going to dominate a lot of the ball. It's what we want. It's what we want to see. It's what we've been working on. But it's now, can we actually get the ball from the midfield to the strikers in a proper goal-scoring opportunity? And it may not come in the first game. It might take 2 or 3 games. But the pressure's going to be on from day one. Skinner will know this. Players will know this. Twitter will know this. But I think we can do it. I think we'll have enough for them. So I'm probably going to say, I think I said 3-1 in the past, but I'm going to go for 2-1. I'm going to go for 2-1.
2-1. You think it's going to be a bit more tight than I think? Then I think this is going to be one of our easy. Well,
yeah.
Is there any easy game of football? When you look at score lines, there are, but I think this is going to be one of our easier games against Reading.
Okay.
Yes, we know they're a physical side and that, and they'll want to bully us off the ball. But I feel with the midfield we've got now, we will win that area. We've got a more experience in there now with Stansforth and that. And like you said, with Skinner in training, our set pieces were a bit weird last season. We tried to overcomplicate things, so they weren't so good. So hopefully we've gone back to basis with that, where we just cross it in, or if we're in a position to have a strike, then we'll have a strike. But I think it's not going to be, when I say I think it's going to be easier, I don't mean I think we're going to score 3 or 4. And my prediction's 2-0. I just feel with all that experience that Reading have lost, it's going to take them a bit of time to the rest of the squad to come along, get used to, without all the experience. So for me, 2-0 Manchester United, and we can all go home happy. And of course, the 12th man's going to be there.
100%.
The players have said it time and time again that it gives them an extra buzz, and in the right way, it can be a good thing. But sometimes players can lose concentration. Certainly, I won't mention any names, but there is one that comes to mind that I think she enjoys it a bit too much, that sometimes she loses her concentration a bit. But we're going to wrap things up in a minute. But before we do, first goal scorer for United.
Okay.
How do you see that one? In my mind, there's 2 or 3 in my head in different scenarios. But what do you reckon, John?
First of all, I'm going to go for a player that I think is definitely going to play. So I'm going to go for Ella Toon, because I think no matter if she plays on the right or as a centre midfielder or as a cam or as a false 9, I think she'll be on the pitch. I hope so. Now, after I've said this, so I think she'll be on the pitch. That's a good start. I think we will dominate the game. I know I said it was going to be 2-1. I think there'll be periods where we're in the stands and we're going to be thinking, okay, we're not really that likely to lose the game. It's just whether or not we can score 1, 2, or 3. I hope that's the case. This is wishful thinking. This is the way I want it to be. And I think Tuni will get chances. I think she'll be on the ball quite a lot. I think she'll be taking plenty of shots. And the question is, will she actually be able to get a shot inside the penalty box where she's got a good chance of scoring? So I'm going to say Tuni on this one. But I don't want to kind of still answer this under. I don't know what you're thinking, but there is another scenario regarding set pieces, which could be a different goal scorer. So I've seen you roll your eye. So I'll leave you to that.
It's interesting that you said that, because where you were hinting towards was one of my 3 players.
Yeah.
With the pre-season Hansen has had, she was an option. Tooney, we know she can pop up from anywhere and get a goal. But I'm going to go, it's happened a couple of times already. I fancy another Katie Zellem free kick. I think there's going to be times in the game where we are going to get these free kicks, because we know how physical Reading are, and they'll get too physical, I feel, sometimes. So I'm going to say Katie Zellum. Hopefully she hasn't saved her best free kicks for pre-season. So fingers crossed, but it will be great to see everyone. And it's been so long, 18 months. We had the meetup, but I've never seen you at the football, and I feel there's a lot of people that I've never met at the football now, where we spoke through the podcast and all that. So I'm excited to see old as well as new faces, and I just hope that all this anticipation and that we can get the win. But Katie's Ellen for me. So we are going to wrap up now, guys. How we want the show to go ahead, we're hoping to be able to get odds from the experts so we can go a bit more in depth with the round of fixtures. This may mean we may have to change the day the recording comes out, but it all depends on how early the experts do it. Unfortunately, with the women's game, they seem to be a bit slow, but they'll quite happily put like a Russian league game on about a week before. So fingers crossed we can progress. But thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for being the guest, John.
No problem. And please, everybody, get in the comments after this show, after this
exactly. Have your predictions. Let us know your predictions for every game and who you feel will score for United first. And feedback will be great. Even if it's constructive criticism, or I like this was brilliant, or even if you have any ideas, then I'm all for listening to ideas. It's all about building the show to be great and that. So
awesome.
Thanks again, John, and we'll speak to you soon, guys. Thank you very much.